Good morning. And it's been an absolute pleasure to be here today with all of you. I would like to thank the organizers, especially Marina, for bringing us all together to give us a platform here where we can share our work, present our work, and discuss our work. Today, I'll present the findings and observations of a study that Sarah in India and I did and have been working on. Unfortunately, Sarah could not be here in person, but she's joining us live virtually on YouTube. Hi, Sarah. I hope you've already joined. And Sarah and I were colleagues at DBT Wellcome Trust India Alliance, and we continue to collaborate, continue to work on projects which are aimed at building an evidence base for science communication practices in India. So to give you some context of what's happening in India and what we are doing, in 2021, Sarah and I worked on gathering perspectives of DBT Wellcome Trust India Alliance funded researchers on public engagement with science. We experienced around that time when we were working on these lack of relevant literature and studies. And around this time, also what was happening was the 5th Science, Technology and Innovation Policy of India was also being drafted, and science communicators from the country were invited as stakeholders to participate in the discussions, and scientific engagement and outreach with general public was included as an important piece of work in this policy document. In the meantime, over the years, 2-3 years, not many years between then and now, there has been more work. The Scientific Social Responsibility Guidelines of Department of Science and Technology, Government of India, now focuses on harnessing science for public good, where it doesn't just talk about science for the good of the society, rather it also speaks about the social impact upon science. And one of the studies which has been done recently tries to map the science communication and outreach practices in the country, in the government-run research and technology institutions, how they carry on their science communication, how do they do their outreach. And more recently, I would like to draw your attention to one of the works that we did as a community of science communicators in India and science policy professionals in India, where all of us came together as a community, 16 of us, and formed the SciComm Think Labs, where we had focused research groups or focused working groups where we dealt with different aspects in the sphere of science communication, the scope of science communication in the country, what should institutional science communication look like, what should the relationship between science and media look like in India, and much more. And the initiative has been able to produce insights and strategies which I can share with you later. So what I am discussing today, the little study that we did, it builds upon this foundation of studies that exists in India. So India has a rich tradition of a focus on basic science, or how we call it the foundational science, fundamental science in India, which is exemplified by the establishment of one of the Asia's oldest research institutes, the Indian Association for Cultivation of Science, back in 1876. And this legacy of focus on basic sciences has been carried forward by the establishment of pioneering institutes like the Indian Institute of Sciences, the Tata Institute of Fundamental Research. Historically, there has not been a perceptible focus on translational or application or innovation in science. But the government of India is now shifting its focus towards fostering innovation, fostering technology, and several significant policy decisions have been made in the last 1 year. I'll talk about two most important ones. one in August 2023, we set up the Anusandhan National Research Foundation. Anusandhan is a Hindi word which means research. It was established to give the high-level framework for how research institutes, universities, and industries could come together for driving science and innovation in India. And very recently, in August 2024, the Department of Biotechnology, again under a funding body of India, under the Ministry of Science and Technology, proposed the Bio-E3 policy, which is biotechnology for economy, environment, and employment, which again has a primary focus on fostering biomanufacturing in the country. So you can see the shift towards innovation and towards technology in the policies that are now being brought into. And with these initiatives, we are poised to influence the type of research that will be funded or prioritized in the future, and striking a balance, I think, between basic science research and fundamental research now is much more important, and that is why we thought it is timely to take up a study which at least looks at what has been happening in the space of fundamental basic research and its communication. So I present to you a dipstick study. We looked at a small group to better understand the current science communication practices by scientists and also by science communication. And also we looked at science communication programs which are focused on basic sciences. It was a mixed method study where we had a survey, a Google form-based survey. The questions were designed to look at the challenges, the opportunities, and the practices in communicating basic science by scientists in India. Then we did identify science communicators who focus on basic fundamental science in their work, and we had conversations with them, we interviewed them, and also I'll be presenting a couple of case studies which give you a flavor of what's happening in India. So basic or fundamental sciences in India are defined as fundamental sciences which look at the fundamental principles of nature without very immediate practical applications. That's the definition that we go by. Yeah, so I'll just present the key insights. So much of what you'll be hearing in the next slides is not new. It has been discussed over the past 2 days, and most of us have the same kind of observations that we have presented here. But nevertheless, it's important to compare notes to know to mark some of the common challenges we have, and also to appreciate the unique context in which we have these challenges, and not have to reinvent the wheel, but rather to just upgrade or redesign the wheel. So basic science research, some of the questions, a section was just dedicated to understanding the perceptions of the scientist about basic science research in India. And when we asked questions about funding, most of them thought it was underfunded. The unique challenges that they had in the sphere of basic sciences or fundamental sciences noted by them were limited funding and resources, access to cutting-edge technology and equipment, bureaucratic hurdles, administrative challenges, and also lack of high-quality research talent. Perception of public understanding of basic sciences, according to the scientists that took the survey, was that most of the respondents felt that general public could not understand or did not understand, appreciate the role of basic sciences in scientific advancements in the country. And when we asked them about the common misconceptions about basic sciences, they noted that basic science can be slow and unproductive. It is not practical and does not contribute to economic development, and it's only for the scientist and not for the society, or not doesn't have applicability for the society and general public. Okay, so this is also something that we have been discussing over our coffee and tea for the past 2 days. We asked them, would you like to be categorized as basic or applied? Would you want research to be categorized as basic, fundamental, or applied? And the opinions that we got from the survey were mixed, because some of the respondents believe it's not important to categorize and put research into boxes because there is continuum and overlapping of objectives, and others felt that it's important to have that clarity in objectives for the purpose of funding and for the purpose of defining outcomes. We asked them how important was it to communicate research in the basic sciences. You can see that 48% thought it was very important. Some felt it was somewhat important, and some felt not important. So the people who said that it was somewhat important and not important were probed a little more, and we asked them why. So you can see that they believe that research is too complex, fundamental research is too complex for the public. They have a preference for academic communication, and there is an assumption, which I've already talked about, that public is not interested in basic sciences. But the people who felt that it was essential thought that it is important for eliminating misinformation, inspiring future generation, ensuring accountability, and also attracting funders. This all, again, has been talked about. Why people should understand basic sciences? Because it helps them understand how the world works. It encourages curiosity and critical thinking. Critical thinking or scientific temper is an important part of the Constitution of India as well. Making informed decisions in daily life. So you can see that the respondents of the survey recognize the broader role of fundamental sciences in inspiring curiosity and empowering the public to make more informed decisions in life. A section of the survey also looked at different formats, different approaches and practice. Although the respondents felt that visuals, storytelling, interactivity can be an important tool to communicate basic sciences with the public, but when we asked them what kind of formats that they generally used, most of the formats used by the researchers in India are very science education focused, one way, and not a two-way communication, because mostly they do public lectures, mostly they go to schools and talk to children. That's about it. There are pockets where new or innovative methods of communication are being tried. We cannot deny that, but majority is one-way science education-based programs that are running in the country. We asked them about using metaphors, analogies, and different formats that we generally use in communication of basic sciences. They understood, the majority understood that understanding can be an important component when you are trying to communicate basic or fundamental science. And that was an important finding of the survey. And we also looked at how they evaluated the science communication practices at their institutes, and we got to find out that evaluation was quite underutilized. So again, these barriers and opportunities are not unique to India. This has been discussed. Lack of time, which we discussed yesterday in the panel a number of times. Lack of training. There's no formal training in science communication for the researchers. What is happening in India right now is at many institutes, we are trying to incorporate modules on science communication training in the PhD training itself. The place where I work, National Institute of Immunology, has already incorporated a module on science communication training for the PhD students who join NII for their PhD doctoral work, because we have a coursework that they take, and science communication and science writing has become an important part of that module right now. There are no incentives, which again has been discussed, for the science communication work that you do. It doesn't count in your progression, in your, especially in the academic setup in the research institutes. And there is also a fear of being discredited. What if I say something which is not correct or not right? What do I have to fall back upon? So yes, and the motivation or the support that they would like is in the form of structures that can support them better, in the form of training that they can have in terms of science communication, and also to have very clear pathways of collaboration with experts who can help them with science communication, to have pathways that can help them to build the trust with science communicators and with media people if they want to communicate more and more. So at this point, some of the, as I told on the onset, this was a dipstick study. We will be further refining the questions that we are asking. We will be further refining the survey that we will be sending out. So it's a small sample size, not representative of the diversity that exists in India. We are aware of that. There is also an inherent bias that the survey is being taken by the researchers who are interested in science communication and not by the whole community as we, or a representative community as we would like them to do. And also we found that most of our respondents were from the biology or the health sciences discipline, and there was a dearth of researchers from physics, chemistry, or mathematics, other sciences taking the survey. That you could blame us for that, because both of us are from biology background working on this. Yeah. Also, I found something interesting which one of the respondents had wrote, and we really have to relook at our questions now, because I have put it as a quote here. There is an underlying assumption in some of the questions and answers that there is excellent high-quality science communicators available to work with. So that is something that we really have to now look at, why people, one of the respondents had a feeling about this. Yes, so quickly I'll run through some of the case studies from India. We have been conversing to these people who lead these programs in India. So I have put them into different categories. First, we'll be looking at some of the curiosity-driven approaches. Then second category is the dialogues and hands-on experience. Third is a one-way yet engaging or more focused audience-led category. And lastly, I would like to present something that cuts across all these categories. So the Curiosity Lab at the Indian Institute of Technology, Gandhinagar, Gujarat, is a unique lab which works just on developing curiosity in children and adults through different kinds of programs that they put together for cultivation of the culture of science. And they study history of science, cultivate culture of science, and work on the principle of keeping curiosity alive. The DBT Foldscope program, again a curiosity-led program. This is a partnership between Department of Biotechnology and the inventors of the origami microscope, Foldscope, Manu Prakash and Jim from Stanford, where they engage the masses in training them about how to use a Foldscope. And you can see the numbers of their reach in just a couple of years. Sawal Jawab and Chai Why, these are more like, Sawal Jawab is question and answer, if I translate it for you. So these are more like science cafe kind of sort of settings where you can interact with the scientist in public settings, and they also do hands-on stuff to get people interested in science. This is completely a blog which is run by the International Center for Theoretical Sciences. Abstract, fundamental research written in a very, very engaging way, but the audience for this is quite limited. Only the people who are interested come to read these. Quickly running through Friendship of Science, which is bringing a comedian, a very, very well-known, influential comedian and a scientist together for a podcast where they invite different scientists to come together and have these fun conversations about science. And it is completely uninhibited, and discussions which with humor and relatability, where they just explore different components of what scientists are doing. And lastly, I present to you the India Science Fest, which is a massive, massive science festival run in India. And this brings together scientists, practitioners, researchers, students, everyone together. And they have hands-on workshops, games, competitions, musicals, all coming together to talk about science. So that's it from India. And I'll be happy to take questions at the end of all the presentations. Thank you. That's a QR code. That's a QR code if you want to have a look at the SciComm Think Labs report. Thank you.